This is Catholic Challenge, a quiz show that tests your knowledge of the Catholic faith. From altar to zealot and amice to wimple, we've got the questions to test your mettle. Take up your shield and raise your sword. It's time to stand firm in the glory of the Lord. Are you up to the challenge? Catholic Challenge 2.0 is here. Are you ready? And now, here is your host, Barbara G.
Hello and welcome to Catholic Challenge 2.0, an exclusive production of the Living Bread Radio Network. I'm your host, Barbara G., and with me today is my co-host, PJ Chavez. Hey, PJ, how are you?
Hey, Barb, I'm fantastic. Thank you.
Very good. Okay, listeners, we're going to spend the next 30 minutes testing your knowledge of the Catholic faith. I hope you're up to the challenge. PJ, let's give our listeners the rules.
All right, so here are the rules. We will ask 10 multiple-choice questions in the first 3 rounds. Each correct answer will be worth 10 points. Now for classroom, homeschooling, or team play, you can download our free scoring sheet at livingbreadradio.com. Now the fourth and final round is the challenge round. This round increases in difficulty because no multiple choice answers will be provided, and each correct answer in that round will be worth 30 points.
Okay, thanks, PJ.
Thank you.
Okay, listeners, are you ready? Let's get started. Round 1 begins right now. Question number 1. The term incarnation refers to what person? The Blessed Mother, Guardian Angel, or Jesus Christ? And the answer is Jesus Christ. In a technical sense, the word incarnation was adopted during the 12th century from the Norman French, which in turn had taken the word over from the Latin incarnatio. Question number 2. Who was Moses' nurse when he was being raised by Pharaoh's daughter? Maria, Moses' mother, or Susanna? And the answer is Moses' mother. From Exodus chapter 2, Pharaoh's daughter told Moses' sister to find a Hebrew woman to nurse Moses. So the young woman went and called the child's own mother. Question number 3. Who was the great saint of the Council of Trent, the Bishop of Milan? Was it John of the Cross, Charles Borromeo, or Ignatius of Loyola? And the answer is Charles Borromeo. Charles Borromeo ended the selling of indulgences, a form of simony, and ordered monasteries to reform themselves. Question number 4. True or false? The word Islam in Arabic means powerful. And the answer is false. The word Islam means submission. By the grace of God, the state of absolute submission can be achieved over time while Muslims learn to completely surrender to the will and commandments of our Creator. Question number 5. To whom was Paul writing in his letter about the slave Onesimus, who had run away from his master? Timothy, Philemon, or Titus? And the answer is Philemon. Onesimus was converted to Christ by Paul. Paul sends him back to his master with this letter asking that he be welcomed willingly by his old master, not just as a slave, but as a brother in Christ.
Question number 6. From Genesis chapter 4, who was the first child to be born? Was it Abel, Seth, or Cain? And the answer is Cain. From Genesis 4:1. The man had intercourse with his wife Eve, and she conceived and gave birth to Cain, saying, I have produced a male child with the help of the Lord. Question number 7. True or false? A weekday of the church calendar on which no feast or vigil is observed is called a memorial. And the answer is false. It's a ferial day on which the Mass may be that of the preceding Sunday, or an optional memorial, or a votive Mass, or a Mass for the deceased. Question number 8. Who became the first Roman Catholic indigenous saint from the Americas? Born in Mexico, his feast day is December 9th. Is it Saint Juan Diego, Saint Rafael Gonzalez, or Saint Jose Sanchez? And the answer is Saint Juan Diego. Saint Juan Diego experienced the apparitions of Our Lady of Guadalupe. His imprinted cloak has remained perfectly preserved from 1531 to present time. Question number 9. What is the rejection of Christianity called? Is it apostasy, heresy, or crazy? And the answer is apostasy. When someone who seems to be a Christian and who is part of the church ends up leaving the church, that person is what we call an apostate. Question number 10. From Acts 16. What happened about midnight while Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns to God as the prisoners listened? Was it a thunderstorm, an earthquake, or a shooting star? And the answer is an earthquake. There was suddenly such a severe earthquake that the foundations of the jail shook, all the doors flew open, and the chains were all pulled loose.
Okay, that wraps up round number 1. We're going to take our first break. But before we take our break, we're going to leave you with a bonus question worth 25 points. Here's your bonus question. How do we receive and increase sanctifying grace? We'll give you the answer when we come back. You're listening to Catholic Challenge 2.0 on the Living Bread Radio Network.
It's the first platform of its kind anywhere. It's great Catholic music, your home for sacred hymns and contemporary favorites 24 hours a day. A great way to draw closer to the Lord through beautiful music. It's perfect to listen to at home with the kids, at work, or during your daily devotions. Listen any time of day at greatcatholicmusic.com. Download the free app or ask any Alexa-enabled device to play great Catholic music.
Welcome back to Catholic Challenge 2.0 here on the Living Bread Radio Network. We just took our first break, but before we went to break, we left you with a bonus question. PJ, let's give our listeners the answer.
All right, here's the question. How do we receive and increase sanctifying grace? The answer is we receive and increase sanctifying grace through the worthy reception of the sacraments and through prayer and other good works. In our Catholic faith, the Church teaches we can't get to heaven and have eternal life with God without having this special grace within us when we die.
Okay, 25 points if you got that answer correct. Now we're going to move into round number 2. Question number 1. There are 14 stations of the cross. With which station do we meditate on Jesus being laid in the tomb? The 10th, 12th, or 14th? And the answer is the 14th. When it was evening, Joseph of Arimathea went to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. Joseph wrapped the body in linen and laid it in his new tomb that he had hewn in the rock. Question number 2. In the parable of the grain of mustard seed, when it becomes a tree, birds come and do what? Eat the seeds, build a nest, or chase the squirrels? And the answer is build a nest. From Matthew chapter 13, it becomes a large bush, and the birds of the sky come and dwell in its branches. Question number 3. In what city did the presence in the sky of Our Lady of Hope stop the advancement of the Prussians against France? Lourdes, Pont-Main, or Versailles? And the answer is Pont-Main. They claimed an invisible Madonna in the sky prevented them from finishing the war. Question number 4. In Egypt, what did Joseph accuse his brothers of at their first meeting? Being gypsies, spies, or soldiers? And the answer is spies. From Genesis chapter 42, he said to them, "You are spies. You have come to see the weak points of the land." Question number 5. True or false? James chapter 4 says, "Do you not know that to be a lover of the world means enmity with God?" And the answer is true. James continues, "Therefore, whoever wants to be a lover of the world makes himself an enemy of God."
Question number 6. After the first king of Israel failed God, what was the name of the second man who was anointed king? Was it David, Saul, or Samuel? And the answer is David. From 2 Samuel 5, David was 30 years old when he became king, and he reigned for 40 years. Question number 7. What is a narrow strip of cloth of a liturgical color worn over the shoulders that is a sign of priestly office worn in administration of the sacraments? Is it an alb, a stole, or a cincture? And the answer is a stole. The stole is a very important item since it denotes the state of ordained office. The stole, like a cincture, can be the color of the day or the liturgical season. Question number 8. True or false? The Liturgy of the Faithful is the part of the Mass that includes the writings of the Old Testament, the New Testament, the homily, the creed, and the intercessions. And the answer is false. This is the Liturgy of the Word. It typically concludes with the prayers of the faithful. Question number 9. In his first temptation of Christ, the devil told him to turn a stone into what? Was it water, bread, or fish? And the answer is bread. From Matthew chapter 4, the tempter approached and said to him, "If you are the Son of God, command that these stones become loaves of bread." Question number 10. Traditionally, which choir of angels move the stars and planets? Is it the dominions, the cherubim, or the seraphim? And the answer is dominions. Dominions are also known as lordships. In the Bible, we can find the dominions as the destroyers of Sodom and Gomorrah. These places were full of sin, and the lordships had to reestablish the order by destroying them.
All right, that wraps up round number 2. We're going to take our second break. But before we go to break, we're going to leave you with another bonus question. Here's your bonus question. What kind of sin is it to miss Mass on Sunday through one's own fault? We'll give you the answer when we come back. You're listening to Catholic Challenge 2.0 on the Living Bread Radio Network.
St. Jerome said, "Ignorance of Scripture is ignorance of Christ." That's why the Living Bread Radio Network opens up the Scriptures each and every day with their podcast, Liturgy of the Word. You'll hear the daily Mass readings and reflection, along with sacred liturgical music. Stay in touch with the Church with Liturgy of the Word podcast. Subscribe for free or listen directly from the Living Bread Radio app or at livingbreadradio.com. You can even ask Alexa to play Liturgy of the Word.
Welcome back to Catholic Challenge 2.0 here on the Living Bread Radio Network. Before we went to break, we left you with a bonus question. PJ, let's give our listeners the answer.
All right, here's the question. What kind of sin is it to miss Mass on Sunday or Saturday evening through one's own fault? The answer is mortal sin. It is a mortal sin against the third commandment to miss Mass on the days when attendance is obligatory.
Okay, 25 points if you got that answer correct. You know, you never miss an edition of Catholic Challenge 2.0. Just go to the Living Bread Radio app and you can subscribe to the podcast, and the newest edition will come to you as soon as it's available. Okay, we're going to move into round number 3. Here we go. Question number 1. From Genesis 29, Rachel and Leah were married to whom? Jacob, Titus, or Gabriel? And the answer is Jacob. Genesis chapter 29. When the Lord saw that Leah was unloved, he made her fruitful, while Rachel was barren. Question number 2. What is the Latin term that means from the chair of St. Peter? Secula seculorum, ex cathedra, or missa est? And the answer is ex cathedra. It is used when referring to the Pope's infallible statements regarding what Catholics must believe and live. Question number 3. Who is the patron saint of comedians? St. Lawrence, St. Philip Neri, St. Teresa of Avila. And the answer is St. Lawrence. The other two had a good sense of humor, but St. Lawrence said, "Be sure to turn me over when I'm done," as he was burning to death on a gridiron. Question number 4. True or false? Vatican Council I declared the papal infallibility of the Pope. And the answer is true. The Pope possesses infallibility only when he speaks from the chair, and only in a doctrinal field limited to the truths of faith and morals and those closely connected with them. Question number 5. Who was appointed to replace Judas Iscariot as an apostle of Jesus? Paul, Matthias, or James? And the answer is Matthias. From Acts chapter 1, verse 26, they gave lots to them, and the lot fell upon Matthias, and he was counted with the 11 apostles.
Question number 6. What was Noah's Ark made out of? Was it pine, oak, or gopher wood? And the answer is gopher wood. From Genesis chapter 6. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood. Equip the ark with various compartments and cover it inside and out with pitch. Question number 7. What are bishops, archbishops, and patriarchs addressed as? Is it Your Excellency, Your Eminence, or Your Lordship? And the answer is Your Excellency. When in doubt, just say Your Excellency, followed by their title, bishop or archbishop, and the last name. Question number 8. What saint was named a patron saint of Scotland in 1673? Was it St. Margaret of Scotland, St. Andrew, or St. Scott? And the answer is St. Margaret of Scotland. Margaret was born in Hungary but returned to England in 1057, then later to Scotland where she married Malcolm III of Scotland. Question number 9. What is an alphabetical index enabling one who knows a few words of a Bible text to locate the entire text? Is it a biblical concordance, a table of contents, or a thesaurus? And the answer is a biblical concordance. A concordance can be very helpful for finding that passage in the Bible that you can only remember a part of. Question number 10. What was the profession of Zebedee, the father of the apostles James and John? Was he a tent maker, a fisherman, or a merchant? And the answer is a fisherman. Originally, James and John were fishermen and fished with their father in Lake Gennesaret. They may have been apostles of John the Baptist a little before they were called by Jesus.
Okay, that wraps up round number 3. We're moving right along. We're going to take our final break. But before we take our break, we're going to leave you with one more bonus question worth 25 points. Here's your bonus question. In 1688, which American state had a law that ordered the death penalty for being a priest? We'll give you the answer on the other side of the break. You're listening to Catholic Challenge 2.0 on the Living Bread Radio Network.
It's the first platform of its kind anywhere. It's great Catholic music, your home for sacred hymns and contemporary favorites 24 hours a day. A great way to draw closer to the Lord through beautiful music. It's perfect to listen to at home with the kids, at work, or during your daily devotions. Listen any time of day at greatcatholicmusic.com. Download the free app or ask any Alexa-enabled device to play great Catholic music.
Welcome back to Catholic Challenge 2.0 here on the Living Bread Radio Network. We just took our final break, and before we went to break, we left you with a final bonus question. PJ, let's give our listeners the answer.
All right, here's the question. In 1688, which American state had a law that ordered the death penalty for being a priest? The answer is Massachusetts. Massachusetts Bay banned Jesuit priests from the colony on penalty of death. Although no Jesuit was executed for defying the ban, the legacy of anti-Catholicism in Massachusetts survived for generations.
Amazing.
Yes.
Okay, 25 points if you got that answer correct. Now we're going to move into the challenge round. So, PJ, this is a little different. Let's give our listeners the rules.
Sure. So here are the rules. The fourth and final round is the challenge round. This round increases in difficulty because no multiple choice answers will be provided. And each correct answer in this round is worth 30 points.
Okay, here we go. I hope you're up to the challenge. Question number 1. What is the oral, unwritten message that Jesus gave the apostles? Some of it was written down and is found in apostolic documents that are not part of the Bible. And the answer is sacred tradition. For almost 400 years, there was no written New Testament to fall back on. All of the apostles and disciples taught orally for the first 400 years.
Question number 2. What does the name Abraham mean? And the answer is father of a multitude. From Genesis chapter 17. No longer will you be called Abram. Your name will be Abraham, for I am making you the father of a multitude of nations.
Question number 3. What is the heretical teaching of the Lutherans, which maintains that the substance of bread and wine exist together with the substance of the body and blood of Christ after consecration? And the answer is consubstantiation. This teaching is in direct opposition to the doctrinal teaching of transubstantiation.
Question number 4. What did the crew of the ship Jonah was on do once the storm had ceased? And the answer is they made sacrifices to God. In Jonah chapter 1, they picked up Jonah and hurled him into the sea, and the sea stopped raging. Seized with great fear of the Lord, the men offered sacrifice to the Lord.
Question number 5. Who are the successors of the apostles? And the answer is bishops. All over the world, all Catholic bishops are a part of a lineage that goes back to the time of the apostles, something that is impossible in Protestant denominations, most of which do not even claim to have bishops.
Question number 6. During the late 3rd century, what group of saintly people were drawn to a life of prayer and fasting outside of the cities of Egypt? And the answer is Desert Fathers. Most modern-day religious orders can trace their spiritual lineage back to Egypt.
Question number 7. What saint was the founder of the Passionist missionaries? And the answer is St. Paul of the Cross. The men who followed Paul would become known as Passionists because of their dedication to and preaching of the passion and death of Jesus Christ. Okay, that sound means we have run out of time. PJ, let's give our listeners the last question.
All right, the last question. In which century was the first complete collection of sacred scriptures compiled? And the answer is the 4th century. The Bible as a whole was not officially compiled until the late 4th century, illustrating that it was the Catholic Church who determined the canon, or list of books, of the Bible under the guidance of the Holy Spirit.
Okay, that wraps up the match. I hope you did well today. We had some difficult questions. Remember, we're always learning new things about Jesus and his church. And if you keep listening to Catholic Challenge 2.0, you'll learn something every time you listen. Thanks for joining us today, and tune in next time for another edition of Catholic Challenge 2.0 on the Living Bread Radio Network. For my co-host PJ Chavez, I'm your host Barbara G. Praise be Jesus Christ.
You've been listening to Catholic Challenge 2.0, a production of the Living Bread Radio Network in Canton, Ohio. For a podcast or archive of this program, go to livingbreadradio.com and join us next week for another edition of Catholic Challenge 2.0.